Thank you, Ryan, for blessing us with that wonderful gift. It's now time to introduce our special guest presenter and speaker today, Dr. Carl Bamlet, also affectionately known as the modern caveman.
Thank you,
And
guys.
if you're tuning in on live stream or watching this on screen, then welcome to you as well. Carl, I've known you for a number of years now, and I thought it would be good just to introduce you and have our audience learn a little bit about you and the journey that you've been on, because you have a little bit of a different accent to some of us Kiwis. And so can you share, whereabouts do you hail from?
I'm originally from Minnesota. I'm in the U.S., and I grew up there up until I was about 25, 26, and then I moved down here for work.
Excellent. And so there's a few things that I do know about you over the years, and that is that your path to getting here has not always been a smooth, easily traversed path to get here, and so you've endured a couple of little challenges in your time. And so can you tell us a wee bit about the sporting injury you had, which might have led you to the course or the path of chiropractor work that you're involved in now?
That's a very good question, because there were a couple injuries that I'd had growing up playing sports. Many of you play rugby and cricket and things here. I played baseball, American football, and I wrestled. And through those years, I pinched plenty of nerves in my neck, broke probably 5 or 6 different bones, had a lot of different injuries that ended up being surgery or casted, and I completely torn this shoulder, had reconstructive surgery on it. Different things call for different rehabs and treatments. And with my neck, you go to the doctor, and I couldn't move my arm, couldn't use my arm, and they just said, "Oh, you got to rest and wait and be out of sports for 2 weeks to a month."
You weren't very happy. You weren't too pleased with that sort of advice.
I wasn't going to do that. I'm too driven. I was going to go wrestle with one arm if I had to, but I went to the chiropractor, who my dad had went to and had some real good results with, and he adjusted my neck, and within 5 seconds after he adjusted my neck, I felt like this surge of energy into my arm, and I could start to move it and lift it normally, and it got the feeling back, and it started tingling and came back alive, and that was my first experience with chiropractic. And many times over the years after that, I'd fix myself up with going to the chiropractor and getting myself ready to go back and wrestle or play football or any other injury.
And as a result of the experience you had there, now you're a chiropractor,
I'm a chiropractor.
You're helping those other sports stars and sports people be the best they can be, working with some of our New Zealand's greatest athletes as well, I believe, with Olympians and Commonwealth sports people.
Yep, absolutely. Work with plenty of real high-level sports and everyday people as well, helping them with their injuries. But the sports athletes are really driven, and they want to just keep getting fixed up like I was, so I can relate with that really well.
Excellent. Now, earlier this morning, we heard of a miracle, and Shah was sharing her breakthrough with overcoming cancer, and that is something that you have in common.
It is. When I was 19, I was diagnosed with a pineal germinoma, which is a brain tumor on your pineal gland. And if you want to know exactly where that is in your brain, if you go straight down from the top, straight down from the side, and straight down from the center, it's the direct center of your brain. And it was a golf ball-sized tumor that had a softball-sized fluid surrounding it of CSF. And I had a big journey with that, had 3 months of chemotherapy, 2 surgeries, a month of radiation, and yeah, it was a long, enduring journey, and made it through it, and went back and went to school, finished everything, went to chiropractic school, and yeah, here today still all free and clear, and it's been 16 years.
Yes, which deserves a round of applause. And Carl, you've also embraced nutrition and health and well-being, which is what we're going to be hearing a lot about this morning. So can you just share with us, with the people that are here and the people that are watching, what it is that you're involved with day to day now with your business?
With my business at the Alpha Mary Clinic, I do a mixture of chiropractic treatments, nutritional recommendations, a bit of acupuncture work. I'm certified in chiropractic acupuncture. So I use those to kind of fix what's going on with the person on a day-to-day basis, on an individual-by-individual basis, because the same person never presents with the same exact thing twice. You're always having different stressors going on, different foods that we've eaten, different things that may or may not be agreeing with us. And so you have to figure out exactly what it is affecting that person on that day.
Excellent. So I've personally used Carl's services across a range of those different skill sets, and I've also been involved with your business journey, because not only is Dr. Carl here as a speaker, he's also an author. He's also produced his own television series as well, which is accessible, and has plans to develop that in the years to come as well. So can we just have a warm welcome to Mr. Dr. Carl Bamlet? Over to you, Carl.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all for coming out today, and what a treat we've had so far. The violin playing from Ryan was amazing. My goodness, you're good. Actually had me moved over there. I was sitting there kind of having to catch myself before I got up here. Kudos. So there's me. Talk a little bit more about me here in a second. Today's topic is going to be around health insights from 10 years in clinical practice. So things that I've learned over my 10 years with the educational background that you get taught and things that you think should go on. So if you go onto Google and you look up something and you think, okay, that's a really good idea, chances are your clinician that you go to, me, has heard that, and we have to test that out in theory to see if that's true. The best ideas can fail in clinical practice because they just don't work for that person. There we are. So I'm board certified in 2 countries. I'm a chiropractor, nutrition specialist, and certified in acupuncture. You guys already heard most of that. You can find me on Facebook if you want to hear any of that. And you see that picture up there. Carl Wartini is my co-host on the radio. We've known each other for a long time, as he said, and he's a wealth of knowledge in his own right, too. So he's also a good person to be in contact with. The name of the television series that we've done so far is called Food, Health, and You. If you want to look that up online, that's a great thing to look in for some more of this information. Okay, so this is what we're going to start to unravel. So it is difficult for unbiased medical professionals to give advice. Understanding what the research says is a challenge for everyone. For every practitioner, we have to work our way through that. It's a thing that we have to kind of go through, and that's where the more experience you have, the better off you're going to be to help everyone. Different recommendations are appropriate for different people. Any 2 people who come in will have something else they should be doing compared to the next person. Oh, a little fast. That is why there are so many opinions that prevail. Who here has heard of more than 1 different type of diet that we can do? Everybody. Who's heard of more than 10? More than 20? More than 30? There's hundreds of different types of diets that can be done, and the reason is because different types of people work with different types of diets. Also, while you shouldn't believe what you read on the internet, it can be a good starting point. It can be something to give you a bit of direction, but oftentimes there's a bit of, it's not appropriate for you. It may not be appropriate for the next person. 1 in 100 it might work for, but use it as a jumping point and don't take it as to be the gospel. Okay, I'm going to tell you about 4 universal truths that every single one of us can basically use. There may be the occasional exception, but 99 out of 100 of us can use these 4 universal truths that we're going to talk about for a large part of what I'm going to talk about today, because I want to benefit as many people as we can. Our water intake, our exercise, our bedtime routine, and our levels of stress or stress reduction are the 4 biggest things that can benefit every single one of us, and it will benefit you greatly in your life to work on these. So one thing I hear in my office, I often hear people say this when I tell them about these things, because oftentimes that's what shows up. And they say, yeah, I know that, but this. And to know it and to not do it is to not have ever known, is the old saying. So what I want you to do is to have the information in place so we can address what we need to address in our personal lives to help change that one bit of these 4 that will give you the basis you can have to then start on the next bit of information we'll talk about later. These 4 parts are what every single one of us need to have in place. This is the building block for our health, and then the other stuff can go on top of that. And if we don't do these 4 first, the other parts will never actually help us. And this is one of the really hard things about practice to figure out, because when I first started out, I would have skipped this and just said, yeah, okay, it wasn't that big of a deal. But it keeps showing up over and over. And if you think of how many people I see a year, I see over 5,000 patient visits a year. By about 10 years, that's about 50,000 patient visits of experience to give you this information. So if you think about how much is wrapped up in that, that's a lot of years, a lot of people, a lot of patterns that you see. So those are the 4 biggest things, and this comes to an internal locus of control, which you have a very good resource right here in this room. Carl Wartini talks about this. We've had presentations together about this. He calls it playing above the line, but internal locus of control is the same thing, and that's where I have the ability, I have the power to change, I'm going to control. So that is a big thing we can all have and we can all do, especially in the times that are going on today. This internal locus of control is a very powerful thing. So, how much water do we have to drink? Not quite that much. No, not quite that much. That's a little bit much, but we need a little bit of humor. All right, so daily water intake. 3.7 liters a day for the average adult male and 2.7 liters for the average adult female. That doesn't mean you have to drink that much extra water. Fruit and vegetables will contain water. Soup contains water, etc. So you will get water from other places. If you can try and get roughly what works out with men and women in practice over time, roughly drink 2 liters of water for men, 1.5 liters for women a day, along with eating the fruits and vegetables that are a key part of our diets. That usually gets the trick done. Ways to indicate you're not getting enough water. 2 things show up with people in practice when they're not getting enough on certain days. You get a headache at the base of the skull that goes up into the head late in the evening, and right shoulder pain. Those are 2 of the things. You don't have to get them both at the same time, one or the other, sometimes both. But those are 2 things that will show up to really really give you an idea that you're having not enough water on that day. If that's every day you're like that, start doubling your water intake immediately. That's the first point of call I would do. Okay. That's not of importance today. Exercise. Exercise makes you burn glucose or sugar without using insulin, without needing to use insulin to help. So this works for even diabetics and type 1 diabetics and whatever. Our body uses the sugar up and makes our body burn fat effectively from exercise. And the question that I always get after that is, how much? The answer is any amount, more than you did before. And the more vigorous it is, the more it will burn off too. So there is a plateau where if you do too much, if you're running 6 hours a day every single day, you will burn out. But the more you do more today than you did yesterday, do more tomorrow than you do today if you're trying to get into an exercise routine, and slow and steady build yourself up in a way that's sustainable. That's what we all have to try and strive for. That's another one of those building blocks that we can't overlook in the way to health. Once again, sustainable. You don't need to be crawling along the road with somebody with a wheelchair behind you. That's the key important. We want to push too hard sometimes. So listen to your body. Listen to the signals it's giving you. As you're starting out this journey, don't go right into a marathon. Don't go right into, 6 days a week working out. Start out doing 3 days a week, half-hour walking. Then go to three days a week, a half hour of a fast-paced walk. And slowly and surely build yourself up to it. These bits are going to give you way more benefit than going onto a keto diet for the next, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and burning yourself out and getting, losing 10 kilos and then putting 15 kilos on. So start out with these building blocks, and then we can figure out exactly what you need to do. Okay. Sleep. This is a huge one that gets overlooked. People don't like going to bed early. I don't particularly like going to bed early. I don't want to miss out. No one wants to miss out on all the fun stuff. We have FOMO. I oftentimes hear, I get enough sleep. We go to bed at midnight, wake up at 5. Okay? I don't need to sleep as much as most people. And they come in with bags around their eyes and don't really look like they've rested much at all. What is ideal? I do admire hard work. It's a great trait to have, but we need a bit of balance and we need to look after ourselves. So how do we get this under control the best? This guy needs to go by the old saying, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. It works for women too, it just doesn't rhyme as well. So bed in winter, oftentimes I find that 8:30 usually works to get those people that are run down feeling better. And during summer, you can get an extra hour, 2 hours out of it because the sun doesn't go down quite as early during summer. The sun is a really good guide. Not many people are willing to go to bed at 6 o'clock during winter, and I understand. So 8:30 usually gets the trick done during winter time. Stress. This is the big one. Who here thinks stress is easy to avoid? Anybody? Good. I like it that nobody has an arm up. That's good. All right, so stress can take a lot of different forms. We oftentimes think of stress as when we're pulling our hair out, not coping, okay? That's what we think of as stress, but that's not necessarily stress. Let's say we run a business, we have a family, we are actively part of our church, we have a lot of other things going on. It's all those little plannings that we have to do to keep things going in the right direction. These are all things that are stressors for us. No matter how well we cope with it, it's still that much more tasks and that much more things we have to do that play a part in us and can wear us down. So we have to have a good balance with everything, and we have to have the exact right structure to keep this right. The big hormone with stress that we all probably heard of now is cortisol. And this regulates our circadian rhythms, which are our waking and sleeping cycle, and they kind of have a pattern that goes on throughout the whole day. And if these get out of whack, this is a very disruptive thing for our health. If your cortisol is disrupted and you're off, your body is going to be needing a lot more help than somebody that has a good sleep cycle, a good cortisol pattern, good stress management techniques. So this is a really good thing to get control of. What is stress? Stress is pain, uncertainty, financial issues, house guests, a new child, our mood, a global pandemic, erratic behavior in the world, any other things that we think of as being outside of what we understand and find to be true and rational. Those are several different options. There's many other options too that are sources of stress. What are the best ways to reduce stress? Bobby McFerrin said it pretty well. Don't worry, be happy. Let's look at these rocks here in this rock formation. Did they start out like that, or were they part of a bigger formation, and they were what was left as everything else got eroded away by water or wind or sand, time? That's what's left. So they were able to withstand the elements and everything else as everything around it crumbled. How do we be more like that? How do we withstand the stress around us? How do we deal with that? We be like these rocks, and we be stable. And how do we make ourselves stable? That internal locus of control is one thing. We get on top of our internal locus of control. We have control of the situation. Is one thing that we can do. And the best ways to reduce stress, there's actually quite a lot of studies on happy people and what makes them happy. We all kind of want to be happy. We all want to be full of joy because that's kind of what we all strive for. So 9 factors that influence happiness. Meaningful conversations. I've heard a lot of meaningful conversations here today. It's not just talking about, the weather or this or that. It actually talks about how are you doing. You're getting to know somebody. You're making connections. That's a really important thing. Positive humor. I've seen a lot of laughing, a lot of jokes here today. Really good. This is a good place to have that going on. Extroversion, outgoing behavior. Versus introversion, we're locked inside, we don't want to talk to anybody. Went too far. Our internal locus of control, there it is again, versus I am a victim versus I have control are the two different thought processes there. Our self-esteem, I am good enough. I am good enough to be up here talking to you versus, I don't know if I should be up here doing this. Really important things to keep in mind. Optimism, glass is half full. Right now, this is a big thing. Pessimistic versus optimistic thoughts are easy to see the difference between the two, and important to have that. Religious beliefs. Some studies talk about this as being a social network or something different, but in these times we see the importance of that one particularly, because our social networks last time were taken away from us. We couldn't socially interact, and we had to have something to keep us going, and that's a very important one. Kindness, generosity, and gratitude are 3 behaviors that can not only benefit us, but it affects our brain, our feel-good hormones, being that way. Practicing these things, putting them into a behavior are all big things we can do. And there it is again, getting that correct amount of sleep at the correct time is incredibly important. They've studied night shift workers to see the effects on mood, behavior, health, and they've come up with some, if you want to look into that when you go home, they've got some real interesting and bit shocking findings that they have with it. So those are some of the 9 most meaningful factors of how we can affect our stress levels. Charlie Pride, quite a happy country singer. Kiss an Angel Good Morning, one of my favorite songs. It's quite a happy song. He talks about how he remains happy in that song. Might want to check that out when you go home. All right. There's a visual aspect of what that just talked about. Pain is another big thing that I see, particularly in my clinic, that affects people's happiness. Picture yourself getting up every morning for the past 10 years, and you have stabbing pain in your back, and you can hardly use your leg. You'd be in a bit of a bad mood. You tend to start to lose the expression of emotions even at that point after it goes long enough. And this is what I see on a very frequent basis, is people who've been dealing with this for a long time. What are the causes of these pains? You get those long-term pains, doing too much. If you're lifting at work a lot of weight, not doing enough. You sit around all day. You don't go out and you do activities. You start to get the achy joints and the achy everything. Once you start walking and moving, it's sore for a bit, but then it starts to get better. Doing the wrong exercise. Running a half marathon your first day of running. You get really sore after that. You may injure yourself quite badly. Incorrect habits. Lifting weights with bad form. That's another thing I see a lot of the time happen. So these are some of the major things that will create that extra stress. The more we minimize this, the better our chances are to be healthy. Here's one of those illustrations. It's an old football injury. I've watched every game since 1978. Best ways to get out of pain. In my opinion, chiropractic is one of the best ways. I see it every day work. I see the change that it makes with people. It's a physical, hands-on, and it gives the person some things that they can do to help motivate and get feeling better too. So it's both, you go to get help and you're able to help yourself with the chiropractic. Massage, acupuncture, staying active, pharmaceuticals, surgery are all other ways that you can get out of pain. Another chiropractic joke. I like chiropractic jokes. They're funny. If you can give me the right back in 5 minutes, you're a miracle worker. Doesn't quite work like that. It would be nice if it did, but not quite in 5 minutes. There's the happy candy cane. Been in pain too long like the other ones. Now he's happy. Best ways to prevent pain. Diet, lifestyle, getting that exercise every week. At least 3 sessions of 30 minutes every week. More intensity and a bit more will benefit you even better. And chiropractic. That one's a bit biased, the chiropractic. The other two aren't. Okay, so diet types. Let's talk a bit about this. This is going to be the part that after we've got those 4 foundations in place, this is going to be a great thing for us all to start to delve into what works for us. Some of us may have quite a bit of it in place, some may not. So some different diet types. A standard diet, a vegetarian diet, a vegan diet, a carnivore diet, a paleo diet, and any more on that? A primal diet. Okay. So I gave a brief rundown as to what each one of those are. Some of those are a bit more easily explained than others. Vegetarian, no meat. Vegan, no animal products at all. Carnivore, only meats. Paleo is pretty popular still. I do similar to a paleo diet, slight things here and there, but quite paleo. And primal is just paleo plus dairy. So I guess part of what we have to do is what I did, I laid out about 20 different types of diets. I wanted to explain what the most common ones are because I get frequent questions about frequent diets, and people have a bit of confusion around it. So I want to take away that confusion by saying exactly what the different things mean and how well I see them actually work. Those ones, for different people, work well for different people. And we can talk about that on a case-by-case basis if somebody wants to come up and talk to me after we're done with this. But yeah, those ones work pretty well. Pescatarian. Can eat fish, eggs, cheese, along with the vegetables and fruits. That's a lacto-ovo pescatarian. The DASH, dietary approach to stop hypertension. Mediterranean. Blood type diet. A lot of these diets are similar, but they change one little different thing because people want to give a different name and kind of claim that they created the diet too. So that's where a little bit of the confusion happens too. And blood type diet and the raw food diet. So raw food diet is just don't cook your foods is what that means. Blood type diet, very confusing. I don't see it work as well as a lot of the other ones. Those other 3 above that, pretty good. And I would put the raw food diet in part with any other diet you do. I wouldn't do it all by itself because certain foods you shouldn't eat raw. There's just a little breakdown of what the Mediterranean diet looks like. Ketogenic diet. This is the craze right now, right? Everybody heard about the keto diet and deciding whether they should go on and try it or not? So ketogenic is 10% carbs or less, 60% fats, and 30% protein. It's a pretty extreme diet. It can be done in a better way. It can be done in worse ways. If you decide to do it, I would contact a professional to help you out along that line. But there are some people getting good results with it. FODMAP diet. This is another quite common one that you hear people trying out. And this is to avoid very specific foods like garlic, onion, beans, and that is to help with stomach issues, whether it be IBS or IBD. This is oftentimes one that gets recommended to try. Most people who do it can't do it for more than about a month to 2 months because it's very complicated to do the foods and it's very limiting of what you can actually eat. So it's one that you don't see people stick to very long when they do it. Gundry is another newish one, been around for about a year and a half. People start doing it and then give it up pretty quickly as well because it's very limiting and very quite challenging to stick to long term. Low salicylate diet, another common one that people don't stick with because it's very frustrating. Chips. Adriel, who is going to be talking today, is a great source of information on this. This is a pretty good diet too. One of the ones that would be good. And all right, so those are the different diet types. Next, we're going to start to move into what works for people to apply the best and how you can decide for you what is going to be the most applicable to you. All right, so all the stuff to this point, we have the 4 bases, which everybody should do. We have the different diet types, which may be good for you to do. And now we're getting into what diet type you have, what body type you have, so what you can apply on a case-by-case basis to help you go in the right direction. And this is very complicated stuff that it might be good to contact a practitioner for, but they're all things that can give you the right direction. And how are we doing on time? Good on time? Okay, perfect. So, individually applying a diet, we have body types. We have the Ectomorph, Mesomorph, Endomorph, which are the different body shapes. You have the lanky basketball player type. You have and then you have the Mesomorph, which is like your rugby back type, and you have your Endomorph, which are like the rugby forward pack type. That's the generalities of it. There's always outliers to this, and there's always different things, but that's the 3 main types you see and the 3 main categories that we have. Type 1, the Ectomorph. This is the basketball player, the tall, lanky, stringy, doesn't put weight on very easy type. They can deal with a bit more carbohydrates, minimal proteins, 25%, and not very much fats. So they can go by with a heavier grain diet than someone of the other 2 categories can get away with typically. There's always outliers, but that's a typical starting place to think about going from. The Mesomorph, this is the rugby back type of body type. 40% carbohydrates, 30% proteins, 30% fats. Now you got the rugby forward type of body type. All right? Gains fat easily, gains muscle easily. This one's going through a bit slower. There we are. 25% carbohydrates, 35% proteins, and 40% fats. So there you have the big difference between the scale is the fats to carb ratio on a lot of these. And the rugby forwards don't deal with carbohydrates very well. And these are things that I see in practice that are usually quite applicable. So these, in general, can be of good benefit when you find out what body type you are and what works for you individually, and then figuring out what diet fits into that category. And this is the early stages of it. So this is why those diets that you've been trying may not have been working too well. You may not be able to get the skin right, or you might not have lost the weight, or you might not have done this or that. It doesn't mean you have to lose hope. It just means it's a very, very, very complicated subject that practitioners even have a challenge with, and that's why there's so many diet types. Where do I fit is a good question that you should ask yourself, okay? And so we've just painted the picture of how complex it is. So now we got to look at where can we go, where is a good starting point that we can all do that can benefit all of us. And what we find is the 80-20 rule is true. So if you eat 80% of it the one way, the other 20% doesn't matter that much. It will matter some. It will leave little bits here and there, but you'll be better off if you do 80% the one way, and the other 20%, that's where you experiment with all that other stuff. But the 80% from here all the way around, it represents it this big, but it's really about that big. 80%, and the little leftovers are what you have to kind of figure out on your own. The 80% there is what we need to focus on, and that's the vegetables, the fruits, the good, clean other foods that we're going to eat. But the vegetables and the fruits are the biggest part of that, and you need to focus on that bit of it. And if you start to do that, then you can start to really build your health up, and those other bits become much more obvious as you feel good. So say you feel good 95% of the time, and the other 5% of the time you start to pinpoint what it is that made you feel bad. And this is the process that everybody goes through as we're getting to that point. Because say you feel like you have a sore stomach every single day, or say you feel a low mood every single day. It's really hard to pinpoint what causes it because it's there every day. What we have to do is get you feeling good 85, 90, 95% of the time, so when you are feeling off, you can say, what did I do today that caused that? And you can start to make a list, and you start to run through that list, and everything eventually gets ticked off that list, and then you go, okay, that's it. So then you cut that out, and you feel better 5% more. And you just keep doing this process over and over, and this is what works, and this is how we find it. So focusing on this part of the diet first can then make you figure out, do I go this road, 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 this road? And there are practitioners like me, like other chiropractors, other health practitioners of other types, that you can go into and get information and help with it to help you get pointed in that right direction. That's the way to look at this to get you going the right way. This is how I look at it personally. This is exactly what I do. Helpful facts. How do you put it into practice? We just talked about that. Okay, so that last question on there. I want extra confidence with my diet. What small things can I change to give me confidence, and can I focus on to help me today? So that's a time-taking, long process, okay? I want you to walk away with something today that you can do to make you feel better, feel healthier, and have strength and confidence in what you're doing, okay? So we're in the cold and flu season, so what we can do to boost our immune system. This is every year what we do to boost our immune system. So here's your immune system. This is what it looks like. You have adaptive and innate immunities. Your innate is always there, eating stuff, testing it, seeing what's going on. The other side is our adaptive. This is delayed. This is what we do when we have a flu or a bug that we get. Our body attacks it, susses out what we need to make to try and fight it better, more specifically for that thing, and then we create the lymphocytes to go attack it. So that is the adaptive system. The immune system in foods, we have fat-soluble vitamins. These are A, D, E, and K. So vitamin A deficiency is a recognized risk factor for severe measles. So when someone's got measles, if they go in, they're going to usually get a high dose of vitamin A. That's one of the biggest things to decrease mortality and morbidity from measles. Who knew that in the room? No one knew that. Okay. So that's how important nutrition is to us. If we're malnourished, we are much more vulnerable because our immune system uses these fat-soluble vitamins as signals to say, hey, I'm healthy, or hey, come attack this thing, or if it's not there, well, you can't really attack it. You're just susceptible. So that's where some of these things are really important to have good nutrition with. And just a little bit more about vitamin A. And we'll talk about sources of this stuff in a second too. So I'm not just going to give you that you need this and then not tell you how to get it. Vitamin D. There's a lot of debates in this in the media. Everybody heard a bit of the debates about vitamin D in the media recently? Yeah, hopefully. Okay, they talk a lot about this being beneficial for certain viruses or not. Here's what vitamin D does in the immune system. It's quite clear that it does activate the immune system a bit more. And so I personally take quite a bit of vitamin D, especially during winter months. A big thing to take. If you're in the summer months, you usually get enough sun. You're going to get plenty of sun or plenty of vitamin D from being out in the sun with your skin exposed. So if you get from about your arms down and your legs down, you're going to have enough vitamin D if you're out there for about a half an hour. You want the minimum erythmal dose. So before you get sunburnt, go cover yourself up or go inside. But get a bit of a browning or whatever you got going on when you get in the sun, and that would be a way to get plenty of vitamin D during the summer. Vitamin E, also, not all these fat-soluble vitamins, they're all important. There's a big elaborate schematic of how vitamin D helps your immune system. You don't have to, there's not going to be a test on that later, I promise. And there's much more we don't know about these things. This is just the little bits that we do know. So taking some of the internal locus of control, we know what we can do to help ourselves. How are we going to do that? Vitamin K, there's not a lot of information yet, but all the other fat-soluble ones work for it. It's not going to hurt to have a little bit of vitamin K too. So some foods with vitamin A in it. The orange veggies, carrots. Everybody always heard carrots are good for your vision. That's because the vitamin A is good for our eyesight. Eggs, broccoli, spinach, a lot of other foods. So those are all really good ones that you can get and be part of that 80%. That 80% of the diet that's going to be good for you, work on that. You can get vitamin A supplements, beta-carotene supplements as well if you want a little bit extra. Vitamin D, foods, fatty fish, egg yolk, organ meats, dairy, and sunlight. That's the only way to get it. You can't get that from vegetables. So if you're not going to be eating any of these, a supplement is the way to go for it. And there are supplements, you can get them from a healthcare consultant or a healthcare provider or a health shop, plenty of different places. Vitamin E, broccoli, spinach, nuts, seeds, avocado. Supplements, you can get it in foods, is my recommendation. Vitamin K, carrots, broccoli, green leafies, prunes. So you're seeing a symbol of what we can do that really is beneficial for our health. And you hear people tell you, eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables, and they don't tell you why. These are the reasons why. There's so many different reasons. It builds that baseline up. It has so many of the vitamins that keep you healthy, keep you going right. It lets you go out there and keep your mood up, keep your internal locus of control there so you know you're healthy because you're doing all the other steps that get you going that way. So now we'll talk about the water-soluble vitamins and minerals. These are other ones that you've probably heard of. I'm sure you've heard of. Everybody I come across usually hears vitamin C is good for immunity. You can get it in broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, sweet potatoes, citrus fruits, or supplements. So who knew that you could get vitamin C in broccoli? There we go. So basically every single thing on here, every vitamin that you needed on here, you could get in broccoli. So that's one food that we should be eating a lot of. And it's a simple thing. It's an easy thing. But have broccoli every single day. I see one young man out there making a cringy face on it. And you can make it so it's not so bad. There are ways to prepare it so it's not so bad. You don't have to eat it, uncooked, raw all the time where you chew it and it tastes like you're eating a tree. It doesn't have to be that bad. It doesn't have to be that bad. You can get a bit creative. You can make broccoli rice or cauliflower rice. Cauliflower is another one in that same family that has a lot of the same properties. And you can make it a different way. You can spice it up. You can make it a bit fun. And it's one thing that you can do that you'll know you're putting in all the effort that will give you all those vitamins, all those nutrients that are really going to help you out. Zinc. Nuts, meat, legumes, big common things that are going to give you that. And that's also a big immune upregulator that's going to help you out. We're getting towards the end of the presentation here. Lysine is another big one. This is an amino acid. And it has a lot of other effects. So this is here. High lysine foods, beef, chicken, tuna, ricotta cheese, milk, navy beans, peas, eggs, pumpkin seeds. So that's where the variety comes into place too. So that's not a real common one that you see in broccoli. So although broccoli is really good and got a lot of stuff, we still need a bit of the variety of the healthy type foods that we would think, okay, get a bit of eggs, some pumpkin seeds, occasional bit of cheese or whatever you need to do to get a little bit more of that into your diet. That's also very helpful. Foods that are less processed and raw are going to deplete fewer of those minerals and vitamins. So they're heat sensitive. We don't want to kill them all off with too much heat, cooking them too much. Vegetables, fruit, fish, meat, eggs, nuts. They're all a bit sensitive to it. If you want to have a really good video that will illustrate why the raw aspect of a lot of these is really important. Price Pottinger on YouTube, Price Pottinger diet video, is a helpful little 6-minute thing to really give you a bit of information that's just it'll blow your mind a little bit on what happens to the cats that were eating a processed, not so healthy diet, escaped, lived in the wild, came back, was all healed up after it had done the thing. So even if you're feeling bad, if you start to change what you're doing to these diet that we've shown, your body will start to feel better. It will start to make you feel healthier. So it's never too late. Find me on Facebook. And we have the other more specific things. We can go through the process in the future. If you ever want to have me come back and talk, we can talk about what are some of the other things that you find with different body types, and you can lean into what diets work and how people go through the process of getting off the things. Because there are other things that show up quite frequently, like sugars and things affecting the liver and different things that we can talk about if you guys are more interested in some of these topics. So thank you very much for having me today. It's been great to talk to you, and we'll see you guys again soon.
I just wanted to take this opportunity, Carl, to say thank you so much for taking this opportunity of coming over and helping our members to focus on health. I mean, we are living in very interesting times. I hope, not just here, actually, beyond these walls, there are people who are connected. I was just looking at our live stream. We have people from America. There is one family who has joined in. There is a family from Samoa. Then there is a family from Invercargill. So we have a number of families and people who are watching you, and just wanted to share with them as well that we hope that today it has inspired everyone. Because that is the overall purpose, to inspire people that even in the middle of all of this, if we stay focused on our health, if we stay focused on thinking positive and thinking good, we can enjoy our life. Because that is the whole purpose. When we pass through the tough times, tough patch in our life, the most important thing in those times is to stay focused. And what you have shared with us today is such a wonderful material, and the way you presented, very, very casual, very appealing, and I loved it. I'm also thinking, I've been exercising, and I'm now thinking, why is it that my muscles aren't really getting bigger? Probably, I'm not really eating probably the right thing. If that's what I'm getting, wanting big guns probably, but the next thing is that's what Garden City Fellowship will have, a pastor with big guns.
Yeah.
But one thing that really touched me today is that you came here, and I love the good heart you have to make a difference. He's not charging us for his time. He's just here so that people can live their life to the best. And I want us to put our hands together once again for him. And I have one Bible passage that really touched me. It says Psalms 107, verse 1. It says, "Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. No matter what the circumstances, our Lord is good, for his steadfast love endures forever." And he wants us to be healthy. He wants us to be happy. Even in the middle of chaotic situation, even under alert level 2, or even under alert level 3, as it is in Auckland, we can be happy and we can enjoy our God, because his steadfast love endures forever. So what I want to do is I want to pray for you and pray for your business, because businesses, they are also being challenged in this time. And I want to pray for your family. We've got your beautiful wife here and your child as well. And we want to pray for you all. And we pray that may God bless you in this time. And I encourage our church members to also support them, go and visit them and connect with them, talk to them if you need any wisdom or any guidance in anything, and I'm sure he would be happy to help.
Absolutely.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, I would love to pray for Dr. Carl, for his love and passion to help people live their best. And I want to pray for his wife. I want to pray for their child. May you protect them. May you bless them. As he runs his own clinic, I'm sure he may be also facing some challenges in doing his business. And I want to pray that may you open the doors. May you provide for their needs. May you surround them. May your presence abide in their house and in their lives. And I pray for our church members as well. As we seek you, as we focus on you, may you bless us and help us to enjoy our life, because your steadfast love endures forever. Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eunice.